Villainous Heroics by I Believe in a Happily Ever After, on EO3, Chapter 19. I'm not sure I like the idea of this. Gaze tracking Hisashi's rapid signing that betrayed his nerves, Shouta tried to think of something reassuring he could say. If you want to stay out of jail for all your previous charges, you need someone in high power on your side. Shouta had half a thought that Hisashi might not find this as encouraging as Shouta wanted him to. It's logical, isn't it? Now that you're a public figure, the Hero Commission is going to be out for blood to protect the image of heroes. The disgusted expression Hisashi made spoke volumes. Shouta mused. Them talking to Nezu, however, really was the best option for them. Hisashi had been released from the hospital only 2 days ago, and since then it had been a whirlwind of getting patrol custody of Hisashi, dodging the police and heroes who thought he deserved to be behind bars, and hiding from any and all attempts at someone recognizing the former villain. It was the reason that, despite all his pouting and protest, Hisashi was hiding under a basketball cap, a worn-out UA hoodie from Shota's third year, with the hood pulled over his hair, a pair of normal-looking sunglasses, a pair of discarded jeans that fit his figure better than they should be. Are you absolutely sure this is the only way out of this? Maybe I can be some community service or something. Hisashi looked dramatically desperate, but Shouta could see the tension coiling in his shoulders, fingers twitching as if they wanted to rub at the bandages that were wrapped around his throat. Just trust me, Shouta said quietly, since they were alone and patiently waiting outside Nezu's office in the school hallway where everyone was in class. Shouta didn't hesitate to cup Hisashi's cheek and rub at the skin, smiling when the man leaned into the touch with a soft, voiceless sigh. We won't be here if I thought it wouldn't help. That's cheating, Shouta. Hisashi sighed, figure softer than before, always, as he relaxed. The only other time that he had relaxed the past few days was when he and Shouta had went on their date. Considering Hisashi was impatient and had self-worth issues, and Shouta was just as impatient after months of teasing and dancing around the feelings between them, their date had been watching done movies while eating takeout on Shota's couch. Shouta had fallen asleep surrounded by half-empty containers of rice and noodles, and Hisashi sleeping soundly on his chest. It had been, in Shota's opinion, the perfect date. It's either this, or we deal with the Hero Commission on our own. The returning expression was answer enough. Shouta snorted as he dropped his hand. You know, it's the commission that leads people to becoming villains like I did. I mean, they're just so awful. All they do is make things difficult and make it hard and harder to help people. It was both fascinating and rather sweet how Hisashi managed to ramble while signing. Hey, Shouta, are you listening to me? Shouta, I know you could see my hands moving. Stop ignoring me. Shouta. Shouta kept accidentally looking away, hiding a smile behind his binding cloth, as Hisashi pouted and ranted. It was fun to wind Hisashi up. The man was always so loud, expressive, and over the top, even without his voice. The door opened before Shouta could figure out how to tease Hisashi even more, Nezu waving them in with a cheery greeting. Come on in, you two. The office was the same as it had been for the last few years. Shouta taking a seat in one of the armchairs in front of Nezu's desk, and motioning for Hisashi to do the same. It was an effort not to worry when he saw how nervous Hisashi was, cautiously sitting down and scanning the room for what was no doubt potential dangers, and a quick way of getting out if something went wrong. Well, it's so nice to finally meet you, Yamada-san. I've heard quite a bit from you and from my teachers on your work and the good you've been doing to keep our community safe. I've even heard that you've helped to save one of our students at one point, something I'm remarkably grateful for. Shouta, did you lead me into a trap? He's way too cheerful for this not to be a trap. Hisashi's signs were sharper and less pronounced, hands kept close to his body as if he was trying to quiet himself even as he signed. He's odd, but you would know if Nezu meant any harm. He doesn't much believe in playing kind when there's no need for it. Shouta signed back, waiting until Hisashi relaxed to look back at Nezu. He says it's nice to meet you. Nezu smiled, and there was a glint that reminded Shouta of the days when he was his Roman teacher. It was a look that, all things considered, inspired a large amount of fear within him. He was proven right when Nezu said, "There's no need to play translator for him. Eraser, I can understand Japanese sign language quite proficiently." Shouta blinked, grateful that they, at least, hadn't said anything too embarrassing before Nezu revealed that piece of information. It was a kindness Shouta didn't expect, honestly. "I'll keep that in mind, Principal," Shouta finally said, glancing at where Hisashi was flushed red and looking embarrassed. "I'll just be speaking for today," Nezu continued, looking at Hisashi. "I'm afraid that while I understand it, I'm not able to use it as well as I would like. Sadly, paws aren't very useful when it comes to the more intricate signs." "Oh, of course, that's no problem at all. I can hear you perfectly well right now, Principal Nezu." Hisashi signed out quickly, tension looking as if it had flowed back into his body at full force. He was going to end up dying younger than Shouta if he kept letting himself stress out too much. "Simply Nezu is fine." Nezu smiled. "The sign for my name would be rat, bear, and dog, actually, so feel free to use them as needed." Shouta decided that the quicker they moved on from that conversation, the better. "You wanted to talk to us about the situation involving him, Principal?" "Ah, yes." While Nezu had called them there to help Hisashi, Shouta knew it was going to be more than just to help. Nezu always had reasons for his actions and kindness. "As of right now, the public is largely in favor of President Mike. The government and other pros, however, are a different story." That was an understatement. While President Mike was already ranked like a pro-hero would be, it was largely public opinion that was behind that. The Hero Commission was still adamant that Hisashi be put on trial for his crimes. It was ridiculous considering the worst thing that Hisashi had ever done was take a bar hostage for karaoke. It is true that the police seem to believe that Yamada-san here has broken the law quite a number of times in regards of using his quirk. He's also been a public menace, obstructed justice, and had been a danger to society. At each new word Nezu spoke, Hisashi was curling up more and more. The only reason Shouta wasn't interrupting was because he knew Nezu was going somewhere with this. That didn't mean he couldn't reach out and take Hisashi's hand, though squeeze it tightly. Hisashi stole a glance at him for just a moment, but Shouta saw at least some of the weight of his shoulders seeped out of him. After hearing other accounts, however, it sounds to me as if the police have managed to gather quite the misunderstanding. Yamada-san, did you ever use your quirk when you feel as if you weren't in some sort of physical harm? It took a moment, but Hisashi finally freed his hand from Shota's before signing carefully, expression neutral. "No, since my debut, for lack of a better word, every use of my quirk has been in some form of self-defense, or when I deemed the situation had no other means of resolution." That was true. Shouta couldn't recall a time where President Mike had used his quirk in harm of others. It had always been to defend himself, just enough to leave the situation, or it had been in the defense of others, not including the time he demolished the whole city block. But that was never on record since Namuri hadn't taken him in that night. "I see." Nezu looked to Shouta, the gleam in his eyes brighter. "Pro Eraserhead, would you label Yamada Hizashi, also known as President Mike, A public menace? Thinking about it, Shouta finally gave a truthful shake of his head. No, I wouldn't. A nuisance? Maybe. But he had never been a menace. The worst he had ever done, barging the karaoke stunt that people could have walked away from if they weren't so drunk, was clearing out the bartender of some top-shelf whiskey. Would you say President Mike has ever obstructed justice in any capacity? Nezu was still politely smiling, but Hizashi was starting to grin. That, if nothing else, made the entire meeting worth it. No, I wouldn't. The only pro-hero Hizashi had ever run up against in a fight besides him was Nemuri, after all, and every other pro after that had been ones that Hizashi had helped. And would you say that he's a danger to society? That, Shouta decided, was the easiest question yet. Not more so than one of my students. Because while Hizashi had been a villain, he had done good more than he had ever done harm. Nezu gave Shouta the same look he always gave when Shouta played along with his schemes, smiling as he looked back to Hizashi. There we have it then. I'll be quite willing to testify in court, as needed, that you, self-proclaimed villain or not, have never broken any government laws that could label you negatively. Nezu hopped off his chair and began moving around the room to look for something, ruffling through cabinets and folders. Shouta was assuming he was giving Hizashi time to pull himself together, considering Shouta already saw tears forming. If you're gonna piss the commission off, at least wait until we get our fundings for the next year, Shouta drawled, pulling at Hizashi's chair and moving it closer until they were near pressed together, Hizashi giving him a soft smile. Shouta knew, without a doubt, that there were a lot of stupid things he would do for that smile. I'm afraid that might not be possible, as I'm about to make them much angrier. Oh, that was... Nezu usually was fond of making people guess what he was, or wasn't, going to do, so to hear him come out and say something so straightforward was... interesting. Now, Yamada-san, I understand that you are looking for work, seeing as your last job ended your position with them due to villainous tendencies, correct? He what? Shouta snapped his gaze to Hizashi, who was suddenly much more interested in looking around Nezu's office. I thought you said you were given time off. Well, if we're being technical, I was given time off. It was just a very long amount of time. Hizashi sighed, smiling weakly and fidgeting with his hat and glasses as if trying to look away from Shota's expression without looking away. It's really not that bad. Well, regardless of the circumstances, I have a solution for that as well. Wait, was Nezu about to hire Hizashi to work for UA? I knew your name was familiar when I heard it, and it turns out I was right. I went through some old records, and it turns out you applied for UA when you were younger, correct? I did. The signs were hesitant and slow, Hizashi looking as surprised as Shota felt. I never attended, though. I don't think I was accepted. Well, we did try to contact you, but I'm afraid we were never quite managed. A student file was set down on Nezu's desk before he returned to his seat, but Shota was caught up on the fact that it was Hizashi's student folder. You never mentioned you applied for UA, Shota said softly, frowning as he noticed Hizashi was still and silent. All previous motions of fidgeting and constant movement were now gone. Nezu didn't seem to mind, plowing on with the tack of non-human creature he was. He did. He also scored the highest scores in history of the written exam. Your record has still never been broken. It is quite impressive, really. It was obvious that Hizashi was smart, considering he built his own support gear and had been playing the system for almost a year. But Shota had never thought the man was that smart. A glance to Hizashi and Shota realized he was absolutely shocked, which, good. Maybe that information will help improve the man's view of himself. Now, I've discussed a few options with some other teachers, and we have a few different choices on how to proceed. some of the other teachers. Apparently, one of them wasn't Shota. The one I wish to truly discuss, however, is that I would like to formally hire you and bring you on as a teacher at UA. There would be quite the amount of paperwork to fill out, of course, and you would need to pass exams for teaching license, but you seem the perfect person to teach our students classes in sign language. Oh, that was brilliant. Hisashi would be protected from the government by UA. He could work out a deal to pay off any outstanding warrants or fines by doing community service with the school with volunteer classes until the class could be made official, and it was something he could do without needing use of his voice. It can't be that simple. Hisashi sighed the words. But Shota had been a second behind in saying them. It really couldn't be that simple, could it? Not after everything that had happened. Then again, maybe it would be that simple because of everything that had happened. I don't see why not. You're quite intelligent and would have no problem getting your credentials. And, as I said, there are no outstanding laws that you have broken to prevent you from taking such a position. We might as well throw everything together and get you your license for hero work and the ability to make support items as well. Your speaker system was really quite impressive. Hisashi looked to be frozen in time, and Shota couldn't blame him. He had only found out a few days ago that his quirk might be gone forever, and yet here he was being offered the chance to get a hero license. Nezu-san, my quirk is gone. My voice is gone. There would be no point in obtaining a license for being a hero of all things. Not to mention, I'm a villain. The way it was explained to me, you were merely an overeager member of the community who would often help when a hero was unable to arrive on scene on time. Quite the asset, if you ask me. As for your quirk, Nezu smiled, an honest and genuine smile, and Shota was surprised by how large an amount of hope he felt at the action alone. If Nezu thought there was a chance that Hisashi could get his voice and quirk back. The door slammed open before anything else could be said, Shota feeling nothing except fear. Shota, Aizawa, how dare you not tell me that my newest best friend is here? Hisashi perked up and spun around in his seat, beaming at seeing Nomura in the doorway. Shota regretted the day they ever met, but at least Hisashi was smiling and no longer looking ready to have some sort of breakdown. Yamada, we have so much to catch up on. Nomura was like a whirlwind in human form, sweeping up Hisashi out of his seat, checking him over, and cooing at him nonstop about how worried they all were about him. Ah, perfect timing, Midnight. Perhaps you would be kind enough to show Yamada-san to the teacher's lounge. He might be seeing quite of it a bit soon. He accepted? Oh, Sir Murray was a traitor, who would need to die. All right, Shota would need to remember to take care of that before they left the school. Wonderful! Come on, dear. Let's go and tell everyone about our stunning new language teacher. Not even a minute later, the room was filled with ringing silence. Shota taking a moment to wrap his mind over what had just happened. It sounded like Hisashi would not only recover enough to use his quirk again, but he would be hired at the school and have a decent job while being completely safe and protected. Looking up at Nezu, Shota saw the principal already had his attraction on him. Shota didn't bother dancing around the subject, merely asking a blunt, "Do you really think he'll regain the use of his quirk?" "I do." Nezu was rarely wrong when it came to things like this. "I've seen the medical files for myself. After all, well, he'll never regain quirk use compared to what it was before the incident. I believe a few sessions with the recovery girl will get him back to where he needs to be. Thankfully, as a soon-to-be teacher of this school, she'll have plenty of time to look over him and help him heal. A happy ending all around, don't you think?" This was all too easy. Happy ending like this just didn't happen after so much suffering and turmoil. There was no way they would be lucky enough to be together and not have to worry about the next bad thing around the corner. Real life didn't work like that, and it never had. There were no happy endings in life for a pro hero. And yet, Shouta couldn't help but think that Hizashi had made him want to believe in a happy ending. If you'll excuse me, Eraser, I have some new teacher paperwork to put together. Feel free to stop by for tea later, however, and bring Yamada-san with you. Of course, Principal. Shouta nodded, standing up and buying his smile under the layers of his scarf as he left the office. The halls were still silent, classes either still going or having switched for a new teacher. Standing in the hall for a moment, Shouta felt his shock leave his giggly sense of relief and lightness as he allowed himself to chuckle and start walking towards the staff lounge. Happy ending, huh? It didn't seem like such a bad thing. That whole, Hizashi in the chapter before this was just the whole, like, oh, there was little I wouldn't do for, Shouta, and then Shouta in this chapter having that whole there's little I wouldn't do, or what I would do for Yamada, right, for Hizashi. And it's just like, it's just that cute, I would do anything for you type of love that's reciprocated both ways, and it just, my heart, it pounds. I can't, it's too sweet, it's too nice, it's too wonderful. Can we talk about Smart Hizashi for a second? I'm sorry, the highest score and yet to be beaten? Damn, okay, I wasn't, that whole, like, Smart Hizashi, I wasn't, like, not that I wasn't the biggest fan of it, it's just, I haven't seen it as much, so I wasn't, whatever. I now love it and headcanon it. I headcanon that Hizashi is super, super freaking smart. Like, Nezu, Izuku level smart. That's what, I headcanon that. That is my headcanon. Thank you, fanfiction, for giving me my new headcanon. I appreciate you. Also, happy endings. Are we gonna get a happy ending? I really, truly do believe that this is gonna have a happy ending because, the author's name is I Believe in a Happily Ever After. Unless this author is cruel and put their username as I Believe in a Happy Ever After and always gives their fanfics sad endings. I really hope that's not the case. I know I would be cruel to do that. I really hope this author isn't cruel though. I really do hope we get a happy ending. That is my hope. That is my one wish. Can we talk about how we have one chapter left and then this fanfic's gonna end? I'm gonna cry. I'm crying. I'm not crying, but I'm gonna cry soon after. I can't cry. I have makeup on and I have videos to record after this because I'm gonna record videos for TikTok. In fact, I think I'm gonna record a video from the Streamerverse. Those are my fans who don't know the Streamerverse. I am so sorry for you. The Streamerverse is my love, my saint, my everything. Which is going to reveal a little bit of lore. Just a tad bit of lore. I revealed some lore in Tumblr already, which, by the way, don't ask me why I know so much about mental hospitals. I have never been to one myself, but I have heard the stories from cousins. Like, I have multiple cousins that have been to a mental hospital. No, I only have one. So the terminology that I use, like, if anybody knows what booty juice is, it's basically just like a shock, like an injection to basically calm you down when you're too, aggressive or whatever, that is injected via the buttocks. When I was told about that, I'm like, oh, hell nah. I would be on my best behavior. I ain't getting the booty juice. No way. The reason why they say booty juice, though, is because there's trigger words that they're not allowed to say. Shots and injections being one of them. So instead they call it the booty juice. And I find that hilarious. I had to implement that in the Streamerverse somehow. And judging by, I have 2 characters who are currently canonically in the Streamerverse that are in a mental hospital for the criminally insane. Or not the criminally insane. I don't know. There has to be a word for a mental hospital for criminals. Because it's not just criminally insane. It feels so weird saying criminally insane, right? Because technically insane isn't even in the DSM-5 book, or whatever it's called. The Diagnostic Criteria book, right? But just for the criminals, I'm looking and I'm seeing what is the next fanfic I'm gonna do, and I'm not sure. I am debating between an unexpected future, just a concerned citizen. I'm like in between those two. An unexpected future and just a concerned citizen. Maybe even elements. I forgot what elements was about. I'm clicking it. Oh, what's the summary? Yeah, I don't know. Boy band. Oh, I read boy band. Alright, so I don't know what's gonna take this slot. I'm probably gonna figure that out tomorrow and inform you guys. As for Saturday, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be posting anything on Saturday because I will be busy doing a top secret, thing. Top secret, like hashtag top secret. So, hopefully, I'm able to upload on Saturday, and if not, then I'll just take Saturday off. But, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.